Can I ask you something else that's slightly askew to the topic, but kind of associated with it? The Iran negotiations.
Mhm.
Um, those we're in the second negotiation that took place in Rome. Another negotiation is going to take place. This one is going to be back in Oman, and apparently the negotiations went well. Divided through over a table. They talked for 4 hours.
Mm.
This was supposed to be on red lines and issues of red lines. And the reporting has it, at least coming out of Bloomberg, that Donald Trump was quote unquote realistic, whatever that means,
Mm.
in his wants or his terms, um, because I guess he doesn't want a war because a war is going to be catastrophic and unpredictable. I had a conversation with someone else on this topic that I don't know if we fully agreed or disagreed. He sends Witkoff to this also, as he sent Witkoff to pretty much everywhere in these negotiations, like he doesn't trust his own State Department. So he sent Witkoff, like he's like, I want a realist. I don't want a neocon. If I have a neocon, we're going to war. So Witkoff goes, and initially when Witkoff comes back, he says, we're talking about refinement less than like at 3% or something to that effect. Then, after getting criticism for being, I guess, Iran's man or flaking out, he comes back on Twitter is like, "We're going to get a Trumpian deal, and it's going to be more aggressive." Basically, they contradicted his first statement on it.
Mhm.
The foreign minister for Iran has come out and effectively echoed what Witkoff said the first time, that this is about nuclear sites, nothing else. We're not talking about our missiles. We're not talking about support for the region. It's purely about nuclear enrichment. That is all we're willing to discuss. And the US has respected that. Meaning, yeah, the deal can fall apart, but it hasn't fallen apart yet. And the things that they're talking about haven't been so far apart that they don't think they can get closer together. Now, Trump has put a deadline on this, oddly enough. He wants to get everything done immediately for some reason. And in the context of the deadline is like, look, we're not going to negotiate forever. However, we believe, I'm paraphrasing, we
Mm.
believe we can get a deal. I would prefer to get a deal as opposed to having some kind of conflict. Israel has come out and has effectively said, and this, I got to be honest, the story doesn't entirely make sense to me, but whatever, I'll run with it. It says they don't care what Trump thinks. They don't care that negotiations are taking place. They may hit Iran anyway. Now, the reason why I said the story doesn't entirely make sense is because it will require U.S. help to do so.
Mm.
So while the U.S. is negotiating, trying to stop and prevent a war, Israel doesn't agree with this negotiation, by the way, apparently, and not just not agree with it, believes they should just go to war. Now, what they're talking about is not them going to war, they're talking about the U.S. effectively going to war because the U.S. will have to save their ass in
Mhm.
any kind of conflict and would have to carry the bulk of the load in any kind of conflict. So Trump is like, okay, that sounds bad. The results are unpredictable. I don't know if I want to invest into this, what may be a large protracted war in the Middle East. Tulsi Gabbard, Hegseth, all of these other people in his administration, many of which are neocons, even agreed with him saying, we don't know what you're playing, man. This doesn't look good. And so there seems to be, and I'm saying seems because I don't know if that's true, and I'm going to explain why, a dichotomy in Israel versus Trump. And rationally, it should be, because the U.S. is one would have to take the consequences of whatever happens in the world if indeed they attack. So Israel's like, hey, we may hit them anyway. We don't agree with these negotiations. We've told Trump we don't agree with these negotiations. But then the article says it would only need limited U.S. help. And I was like, wait a minute. How are you alienating the U.S. by a single attack, but you need the U.S. for help? Now, this could be part of a pressure campaign where all of these guys are working together and saying this stuff. I have no idea which one it is. Give me your, if you had to give an opinion on the potential for getting a deal, almost like a JCPOA 2.0, what would it be? I mean, Iran said they want more than they got out of the first JCPOA. They weren't satisfied with it. Trump is the one that pulled out of it. So from their point of view, we want more out of this particular deal and stronger ironclad guarantees that you just won't pull out. Now, Trump has said, if we don't get a deal, we are going to attack you with some kind of battle plan that is effectively going to be catastrophic for the world. Give me your take, your assessment of these negotiations and everything that has been going on around them.
Well, it's very interesting that Trump did open negotiations because, as you said, he was the one who violated the JCPOA when the Iranian government was adhering to it strictly. So the Iranian government now has to be very suspicious. And the fact that they want more guarantees and a better deal is certainly legitimate because of what happened the last time. Now, Israel, again, saying that they, regardless of the US Iran negotiations and any agreement that those two countries make, is still going to bomb nuclear sites if they feel it's, quote, necessary, is an indication, again, of how out of control the Israeli government is and how the United States refuses to put it under any control. The United States would support it with weaponry if Israel decided to want to bomb Iran, despite the agreement, then the United States would provide the weapons for that. During the Biden administration, Biden spokespeople said that the U.S. was doing everything it could to bring about a ceasefire in Gaza. It's not doing everything. It could stop sending the weapons. It could stop protecting Israel on the diplomatic stage. So it's the same kind of thing here, that Trump will say he's doing everything possible to bring about a deal with Iran, except giving Iran what it wants, which are, and Iran's demands are reasonable. So I think it's a good sign that these negotiations are happening. I think it's a good sign that at the moment, Trump seems reasonable. And I don't think I've ever said those three words together. Trump seems reasonable in the past. But if this does result in a deal that will bring a cooling off to that part of the world, that's great. Now, another key thing I think is that the United States government for years has said that it will not allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. And I don't know who the United States is to dictate anything to another country, but also the United States is the only country that has ever used nuclear weapons and has the largest stockpile of them in the world. So how arrogant to say we won't allow this country or that country to have them. The Iranian government does not want nuclear weapons based on their religious beliefs. However, if the government leaders said we need to deter Israel and the United States, and the only way we can do that is if we have our own nuclear weapons. Now, I'm a person who believes fewer nuclear weapons in the world is better, but I would understand completely if the Iranian government said, yeah, we're going to develop nuclear weapons. Although they have never said that, there's been no indication that they're enriching uranium to that degree. They are enriching it above possibly what they need for peaceful causes, but they have to have some kind of some leverage in a negotiation, and this is their leverage.
I'm glad you said that. Thank you. There are so many guests. I have had arguments with guests on this, where I would start off with the context like, this is an outrageous conversation because the conversation doesn't really make sense. Israel has nukes, for one. Israel has been on a genocidal rampage, killing 50 to 100,000 people, 2/3 of which are women and children. They've been invading country after country after country, not to mention running an open-air ghetto and an apartheid state. They are out of control. Iran hasn't invaded anybody. And this idea that Iran is the problem in this is outrageous, right? It's like the very fact that we're talking about Iran in this is just strange. It's weird to me. And when people start off the conversation, they start off on Iran. And my thing is kind of like, hey, can we just acknowledge the first context is true? Like we're talking about Iran purely because a state is talking about unilaterally attacking another state for no reason, using a similar premise as they did with Iraq. Weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Okay, well, Iraq didn't have weapons of mass destruction, right? And yet they use it as a pretext by which to attack and destroy their country. History is rhyming. We think they're getting a nuclear bomb and we don't want them to get a nuclear bomb. Okay, dude, we don't have a nuclear bomb. Our own assessments say they don't have a nuclear bomb. Yeah, but they might get one. So we need to now attack them in a rerun of Iraq. It's outrageous that this is the conversation we almost on some level have to have because we don't want to see another country get attacked unilaterally by another country bullying them at the behest of Israel. It's astonishing, right?
Absolutely astonishing.
So thank you for mentioning that as you were explaining it, because many people, when they have the conversation, they do not. They don't. They just don't. They ignore the fact that Israel has nukes. They ignore the fact that Israel's doing all this stuff, and they start at Iran. Well, we can't let them get a nuke. And it's like, who are you to tell them that they can't? There's that too, right?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
they're an independent actor. All these other countries have nukes, and we're saying, yeah, we don't like you to get a nuke because we don't want you to threaten Israel. Okay, but they're not attacking us. They're not threatening us. This is not an issue for the United States, and yet we've taken this role of we will destroy your country unilaterally.
and if I could point out, the last time Iran attacked another country was 1790 something. Now, uh, Israel has attacked several countries in the last year. The United
Yeah,
States has attacked countless countries in the last 20 years. So why is there this great fear of an attack from Iran?
if I had to, I think Wesley Clark is right. I think regardless of the president, and this is why I don't believe Trump is bluffing. I think he would hit Iran.
Mhm.
Regardless of the president, there's been, and I want to get your take on this, a coherent strategy, a thread that has gone through all of the presidencies of eliminating one Arab state after the next, especially if they had any level of resistance.
Mhm.
So Libya, Sudan is in just utter chaos right now. Iraq, Afghanistan, I may be missing one or two, but
Mhm.
effectively going through each of those countries with Iran being the last man standing and defying the odds on some level. And now it's like, okay, you have all of these lunatics that are in the Trump administration, all of them devout Zionists. Some of them believe Christ is going to return because of Israel. And you have Trump, who has isolated some of them and sent Witkoff to try to get a deal. Almost like the realist is being sent with the State Department being too crazy for him to effectively
Mhm.
use. Regardless of the president, those governments have fallen. They've been attacked. They've been destabilized. They've used terrorists to undermine them. Syria, a really good example, where they've been working on that government for years. Obama spent billions year after year to destabilize Syria, only for it to effectively crumble under the Biden administration as he was on his way out. So I don't trust anything that is coming out of the U.S. in regards to Iran. Any kind of deal, from my point of view, is going to be used to weaken Iran. Now, it depends on what's in Trump's mind. It may not be this administration, it could be the next one. But it seems like there's coherent strategy to destroy that country. And I suspect that Netanyahu believing, look at all the neocons in Trump's administration, all of them are devout Zionists. This is the time where we can effectively get what we need to get, and we can get it now. That includes Gaza, that includes the West Bank. He would let us kill every last one of them, and he would defend it. And right now, we can go after Iran. Trump will back us in doing so. That's the way I see it, right? I could be wrong on this. I have a darker view on this than some of the other people who've come on the channel and talked about it. Give me your view of it. Am I too negative in the way that I'm looking at this? Because the truth of the matter is, whatever they end up negotiating, that's not enough. Then what? They've already said, if you don't accept what we offer, we're bombing you.
Mhm.
So he set himself in a box where we get what we want or else. Now, you can either back away from that. If you back away from that, you lose so much credibility because you've spent the last month saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Okay, I was just bluffing. Well, I don't buy that the rhetoric allows you to bluff. I think the rhetoric forces you, compels your behavior. Give me your take on this. And this could be the last question, by the way. I'm just curious on how somebody else sees it, especially somebody who wrote the book on
Well,
some of the subject matter.
well, I could be very brief and say I agree with you, but I'll give you a little more detail than that. One, as far as Trump backing down, and losing face, he doesn't care about those sorts of things. I mean, he certainly cares about his image, but he will spin it in some way. Oh, this is exactly what I wanted, and all my negotiation led to this exact thing, and this is behind the scenes. So I'm great. But when you talk about how different U.S. administrations have decimated the Middle East. Libya, you mentioned Libya. Libya used to be referred to as the Switzerland of the Middle East. It was a place that there were resorts, people visited there, and now it is a failed state thanks to Barack Obama. Look what over 20 years of U.S. military intervention in Afghanistan did to that country. It just decimated it. Iraq, after the shock and awe campaign under George Bush, the sectarian violence and the sectarian divisions that that didn't exist to any great degree prior to the U.S. invasion are now there all the time, and the people there are not better off. People in Libya, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria are not better off than they were prior to U.S. intervention. So we're seeing it in Iran again. The difference with Iran is, remember a couple of years ago or a year or so ago that Iran and Saudi Arabia became aligned again. They had severed relations, but now they're back. China brokered that. So Iran is not a country without major allies. Now, I'm not saying that Saudi Arabia would join the United States if it invaded Iran, but how is China going to react to an Iranian invasion? How is Russia going to act to an invasion of Iran by the United States or Israel? These are unknowns. And with so many countries in the Middle East having nuclear weapons, and of course China and Russia do too, any invasion of Iran is going to set a fuse on a bomb that will explode the world. And some countries know that. I don't know if Trump realized that or the neocons in his administration. During his first administration, there was talk about the adults in the room. There don't seem to be many left in the room this time around. But the United States has, over a period of decades, sought to destabilize countries and done it successfully, destabilize countries in the Middle East, causing untold suffering as a result, which the U.S. government doesn't care about. And they're continuing that. Their sights are set in Iran, but I think they will have far less luck with Iran than they had with many other countries there. Don't hear you.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's construction upstairs, so I put the mute button on.
Okay.
It's banging and everything else is just insane. Thank you for this. I deeply appreciate this conversation. It's been such a long time since I think I've had the opportunity to talk to you about it. And I think this is the first time my audience has the opportunity to see you and to hear you. Thank you for this. We have a really good crowd that had the opportunity to hear you. And personally, these conversations I enjoy. I enjoy it because I want other people's perspective on how they view this stuff.
Mhm.
Like some people have a much darker lens. Some people have a much optimistic lens in the way they look at it. And so hearing those takes helps me gauge my own sense of reality and like what's more true, what's less true, that type of thing. I really appreciate this.
Thank
Robert
you.
Fantina. He is author, journalist, activist, working for peace and social justice, author of the book Settler Colonialism in Palestine and Kashmir. By the way, do you have any other additional books? And where are you that people can find you?
They can find me on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, or X now. And yes, I mentioned my book on propaganda. It's called Propaganda Lies and False Flags, How the U.S. Justifies Its Wars. I have another book on foreign policy called Empire, Racism, and Genocide, A History of U.S. Foreign Policy. And then a couple of books on, another one on Palestine, Occupied Palestine, Israel, the U.S., and International Law. So those are available on Amazon or wherever people buy books.
Oh, wow. I am talking to the right person. Thank you for this. You have a good one, okay? Be safe.
Thank you. You too. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. All right. Definitely appreciate Robert. Like I said, had the opportunity to talk to him for a while. And by the way, when the other interview, Joe, what is his name? It'll come to me in a moment. Those were people who I had the opportunity to talk to, God, I want to say years ago, and had never brought him on the show. I appreciate the audience response to him. That was great. His video did very well. And I hope you like Robert also. He's very knowledgeable about the subject